Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It's Thursday, the 5th of March, 2026. These are the WTF reports, and I'm here with the facts. WTF. Oh my gosh, so much to cover today. Hang on to your hats, folks. It's going to be a bumpy road.
You won't be trusted anymore.
All right, welcome to the WTF reports, and there's no shortage of information to deal with today. It's going to be a shotgun blast, and yeah, we're all watching and sitting on the edge of our seats. And as I mentioned a couple days ago, you know, it's like squirrel, 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 all these different major controversies and horrendous stories that are being pumped out by the mainstream media. Half of them are horse hockey, bullcrap, and all that. But it's going to be up to us to sort it out, because we know that AI and propagandists and, bots and all kinds of people who are paid $7,000 a post are putting out all kinds of conflicting and contradictory information. And so it's all the more reason that we have to use a lot of discernment and, try to sort through what's real and what isn't. Anyway, I'm glad that you're listening, and I hope that you're spreading the word. Yeah, this is a broadcast. It's I don't know. I'm sure it's going to be throttled, et cetera, but I don't care. It's I have to tell the truth. I'm not stupid, I'm not crazy, and I don't lie. And many, many years ago, I wrote on as a matter of fact, my first album, the liner notes, I said, if you become aware of a lie and you do nothing to expose the lie, you become part of the lie. And I will not lie. I will not, I don't hide in the darkness. I'm going to stand in the light. And as they say, there can be a million lies, but there's only one truth. And trying to find the truth in today's world is very, very difficult. So all we can do is take information and weigh it. Put some information in this hand, put some information in that hand, and just make your own choices as to what is real and what isn't, what makes sense and what doesn't. So anyway, getting started, right off the bat, there was a post. It was in Indonesian. And basically, and this is the story that they're putting out all over the world, of course. And it says here, Iran just made history. Iran's Shahed drone traveled nearly 2,000 kilometers across the Mediterranean Sea and struck the British RAF Akrotiri Air Base in Cyprus. And not a single NATO air defense system saw it coming. So they're saying that Iran bombed the British RAF base in Cyprus. Okay, that's what's being put out there. However, there are other reports that are basically contradicting this. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can find it here. I've got so many posts here to go through. Oh, let's see. Where is it here? It was on a major television network. Let's see where it was. I had it here. Well, where the heck did it go? Oh, okay. Here's one report that contradicts that original report. Now, again, they're saying that Iran hit the British RAF base in Cyprus. However...
Some breaking news. Israel just bombed the British military base in Cyprus. And the UK said, quote, we can confirm that the Shahed-like drone, which targeted RAF Akrotiri on the 2nd of March, was not launched from Iran. And you need to know how big a deal this is.
Okay, going to pause it there. They said it was not launched from Iran. Okay, so where was it launched from?
For context, 2 days ago, an Iranian drone hit the runway at the British military base RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus. It didn't cause a load of damage, but it hit the runway. Now, at the time, we thought that was that. However, just moments ago, the UK has released a statement saying it actually wasn't an Iranian drone. But something important, they didn't say whose drone it was, and they didn't say where it actually came from. And because of that, it seems like it might have been Israel. Of course, if the UK knows that it was not an Iranian drone which hit the base, they know where the drone came from. Mm-hmm. So why didn't they say that? The drone could have come from the Houthis in Yemen. It could have come from Hezbollah in Lebanon. But they didn't say that. The UK just said, well, it wasn't an Iranian drone. And because of that, pretty much everyone is in unanimous agreement that it was likely an Israeli drone that hit the British military base as a way to try and drag the UK into the war to support Israel and fight Iran. Because obviously the UK is refusing to carry out attacks against Iran, and Israel really wants the UK support in this war. And so Israel here might have bombed the British military base with a drone as a false flag to try and drag the UK into a war for Israel against Iran. And if we don't get a clarification by the UK as to whose drone this actually was, it goes without saying it was probably Israel who bombed the UK. This is a huge deal, absolutely breaking news. So leave me a follow, because I'm covering all of the Iran conflict right now, and I'm covering stuff that I am not afraid to talk about, like this. So leave me a follow.
Very good. Okay, well, that's coming from Alex Barnicoat, obviously British. So it's starting to come out that they're lying about where these drones are coming from. And here's another report from the Young Turks. Let me see if I can pull this one up. Here it is.
Journalist Ryan Grimm wrote that Saudi Arabia will eventually be able to figure out where the missile came from that struck their oil field, because there were strikes on the oil field as well. And if it's confirmed it was Israel, that'll have regional implications for a generation. Now, some of you might be wondering, Israel, who's blaming this on Israel? Well, interestingly enough, today on Tucker Carlson's show, he made a pretty bold claim, and it had to do with the arrests of Mossad agents in other Arab countries. I want you to listen to what he has to say here, and then we'll discuss, the likelihood of this. Take a look.
Israel wanted to hurt these countries. That's the point. Wanted to hurt these countries. Wanted to sow chaos and disorder because they are rivals of Israel. So it's probably hasn't been reported, but it's a fact that last night, in Qatar and Saudi Arabia, authorities arrested Mossad agents planning on committing bombings in those countries. Now, that's weird. That doesn't make any sense. Why would the Israelis be committing bombings in two Gulf countries, which are also being attacked by Iran? Aren't they on the same side? No. Israel wants to hurt Iran and Qatar and UAE, and Saudi, and Bahrain, and Oman, and Kuwait. And they've succeeded.
There's a little bit of rationale there because the greater Israel does include a lot of the Gulf. And now,
Turkey.
And so that's what I was going to get to, is that, like, it looks like they're going for greater Israel now, right?
Yeah. So, and keep in mind that the motto of the Israeli Mossad, and I have to assume also the IDF, and also I'd have to assume the entire Israeli military complex, their motto is, and I quote, by way of deception, thou shalt make war. The key word here is deception. They will do anything and everything that they can to basically to lie to you. And that includes false flags. So and there are other reports now coming in confirming that, yes, the attack in Cyprus did not come from Iran, but it came from Israel, trying to pull the UK, get their support. And now you're hearing that this strike on the Saudi Arabian oil refineries, well, they said, oh, yes, Iran hit the... Well, now we're finding out that it was Israel. As a matter of fact, there was a clip. I've been looking for it. I had it out. I was looking at it yesterday. Somebody made a video and they said, if these missiles that hit this oil refinery in Saudi Arabia were from Iran, they would have come from over there. But they didn't come from over there. They came from over here. They came from the direction of Israel. So there's all kinds of horse hockey bullcrap that's being thrown out. Now, there was also a report here, Benny Gantz is a former Israeli Minister of Defense, and he was being interviewed, and he said the following. Listen carefully.
Do you think eventually there will be a need for boots on the ground?
Now, he's talking about U.S. troops, boots on the ground, okay? And again, this is the former Israeli Minister of Defense, and he's talking about U.S. troops on the ground.
I would not exclude it for those reasons or other, but we'll have to see how it goes forward.
And will that include Israeli boots on the ground, do you think?
I exclude nothing. We've been waiting for 47 years, and we came to a point that every necessary means should be taken in order to achieve our goals.
Okay, they've been waiting for 47 years. Now, she was asking about boots on the ground, and then she said, well, would that include Israeli boots on the ground? Which means we are assuming he's talking about U.S. boots on the ground. So since when does a former Israeli defense minister official make decisions about whether or not U.S. troops are going to have boots on the ground? All right. Now, there's another statement here that was made by the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, and he is basically issuing a warning. Russia's going to do everything in its power to create conditions where continued U.S. and Israeli military strikes on Iran become completely impossible. Listen to this statement again. This is from Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov.
For our strategic partners.
Oh, by the way, that's a translator. That's why it's a woman's voice. Okay, here's what he said, though.
For our strategic partners, and we'll continue to maintain dialogue with these countries, and we'll do our best to, including with other countries of the international community, in the United Nations Security Council, in the United Nations General Assembly. We'll do everything to create an atmosphere that will make this operation impossible.
Mm-hmm. So Russia's not too keen on what the U.S. and Israel is doing, and they're going to do everything they can to make these missions not happen. Meanwhile, NBC News was interviewing, let's see, who is this? This is the Iran's foreign minister, and his name is I can't pronounce these names, Aragashi. And anyway, here's what he had to say on NBC News. And again, this is not Dave saying it. That's why I'm here with the audio receipts, WTF, with the facts. And if these facts make you exclaim WTF, well, then so be it. Anyway, here is Mr. Aragashi on NBC talking about a U.S. invasion. In other words, boots on the ground. Here it is.
Boots on the ground in Iran. Are you afraid of a U.S. invasion in your country?
No, we are waiting for them.
You are waiting for the U.S. military to invade, the ground troops?
Yes. Because we are confident that we can confront them, and that would be a big disaster for them.
So you're saying that Iran is ready and willing to take on the U.S. military if there were to be ground troops?
Well, we were ready for this war even more than the previous war. So you can see, the quality of our missiles, how much they are upgraded after the last war, because we learned lots of lessons. And we are prepared for any other eventuality, even, a ground invasion. So our soldiers are prepared for any scenario. When I said we are waiting for them, it didn't mean that we are waiting for continuation of the war. No, but we have prepared ourselves to confront with any scenario, with any eventuality, any possibility, and we know that we can handle that.
Are your allies Russia and China helping you?
I'm going to stop right there. Are your allies, Russia and China, helping you? They've got allies. Now let that sink in. If we're screwing around with Iran, and Iran is supplying a good percentage of oil and resources to China, China obviously wants to protect their interests. So China is siding with Iran, as is Russia. Now, we all know who's behind this push, all right? And I don't know, maybe this is part of the process of waking up the American people and the people of the world. I don't know. I'm going to let this continue.
Well, they are supporting us politically and otherwise.
And otherwise. Yeah, okay. Now, in the meantime, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, they were talking about whether or not Spain is going to help out, because they went to Spain, the U.S. went to Spain and say, hey, help us out with this. And anyway, I'll let you hear what she said at the White House briefing, and then a rebuttal. Listen up.
With respect to Spain, I think they heard the president's message yesterday loud and clear. And it's my understanding over the past several hours they've agreed to cooperate with the U.S. military. And so I know that the U.S. military is coordinating with their counterparts in Spain.
Okay, so she's saying that Spain is going to cooperate, right? However, I'm going to have to translate this because this was broadcast in Spain on channel 25. And let me see. I'm going to have to turn the volume down here and read the subtitles here. Anyway, this gentleman, I don't know who he is, but this is on the television channel 25 in Spain. And he said the following. The White House secretary has just said that Spain has agreed to cooperate with the United States military. Is this true? And he says, I completely deny it. Just as I was coming here, I was informed and saw them. Excuse me. I completely deny it. The opinion of the Spanish government on the war in the Middle East, on the bombings in Iran, on the uses of our bases hasn't changed one bit. And the other guy says, the White House secretary is lying? He says, hey, look, I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Spanish government, and I tell you that our opinion of the use of our military bases in the Middle East war on the bombings of Iran hasn't changed at all. And where can this be? He says, let me back that up a little bit here. It hasn't changed at all. And then the interviewer asked the question, where can this misunderstanding come from? And his answer is, I have no idea. And honestly, I have a lot of work at the moment. We're in the middle of a couple of evacuations. Thankfully, the one in Iran, all Spanish nationals that wanted to leave Iran are now safely in Azerbaijan. We are in constant coordination with all my equals in the region, also with the European ones. Tomorrow we have an extraordinary foreign affairs meeting. I have no willingness, and I would rather almost... oh gosh, it goes so. They talk so fast. He says, I have no willingness, and I would almost say neither. Time to speculate about this, but what I can say is that our position hasn't changed at all, and I completely deny any change on that. So, in other words, bottom lines here is Carolyn Levitt says we've got Spain's cooperation, and they're saying no, you don't. So they're lying through their teeth again. So anyway, let me see. There's another post here from Alex Barnicoat having to do with these missile strikes and the claims that, of course, that the Cyprus attack was done by Iran, but now we're finding out that it was done by Israel. Let me see what he has to say. This was just posted.
Some breaking news. It's been reported that Israel is carrying out false flag attacks all across the Middle East in a way to try and drag other countries into the war to fight against Iran.
Okay, I'm going to pause that. I remind you, the motto of the Israeli Mossad and the IDF, by deception thou shalt make war. And that makes sense when you look at all the false flags.
Support of Israel. For context, only moments ago, the UK said that an Iranian drone was not responsible for the drone attack on the UK military base on the 2nd of March. But as well as that, Iran has denied that they bombed the Saudi oil refinery. As well as that, they've denied that they bombed Turkey yesterday, which resulted in NATO shooting down that Iranian drone. Well, the fact that Iran has denied all of these attacks and now the UK has confirmed that it was not actually an Iranian drone which bombed them is making a lot of people here think that Israel is carrying out drone attacks using Iranian drones on countries all around the Middle East in a way to try and drag these countries into
journalist Ryan Grimm wrote that
of Israel against Iran, because it seems at the moment that Israel and the US have massively underestimated Iran and they need these countries' support to finish the war, because if they don't get it, it seems like the war might go on for a lot longer than they expected. And so we have no confirmation of this, and I am not giving an opinion on this. I'm saying what's being reported for legal reasons. But it seems like Israel might be carrying out false flag attacks to drag other countries into the war. This is a huge deal, and I'm covering stuff that I'm not afraid to, which probably could get me in quite a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So leave me a follow so that you don't miss anything important on the Iran conflict right now.
Okay, interesting. All right. Now, in the meantime, and I mentioned this yesterday, common sense will tell you that, of course, Bibi Netanyahu has been saber-rattling and trying to get us involved in a conflict with Iran for decades. since the 90s. We've all, if you haven't been paying attention, I'm sure you've seen some of the audio clips going back in 1995. Iran is only weeks away from a nuclear bomb. You know, and then in the early 2000s, Iran is only a month away from a nuclear bomb. This is a bomb, and here's the nuclear warhead. And this goes on and on and on. So, Iran's sitting on the sidelines, and they're saying to themselves, man, they really want to kill us. We better start getting ready to defend ourselves. So what do? They've been manufacturing missiles. Okay, now, again, Iran hasn't attacked anybody. No, they've been watching all this crap go on in the Middle East, and they've been staying out of it. Yeah, they're a screwed up regime. That's a given. All right. But the bottom line here, they have had decades to prepare for this. And they have had decades of manufacturing missiles. Now they got, tens of thousands of missiles, and they're old school. Okay, and they also have high-tech missiles, and they're holding back on those. They're just shooting off all the old missiles, cost like anywhere between $30,000 and $50,000. I mentioned it yesterday. So they set off a missile or a drone that, cost tens of thousands of dollars, and we have to shoot it down with a missile that costs $1 million. All right, so by attrition, we're going to go broke. And they can do this all flaming day. As a matter of fact, there was an interview with one of the Iranian officials. His name is Marandi. Marandi. And here's what he had to say. This is very telling, folks. We got to wake up and realize, we stepped in it. I mean, well, we didn't. Trump did. Bibi made Trump step in it. All right. So anyway, give a listen to this. This should be a wake-up call. Listen to this.
But Iran is not a military superpower either, and we're seeing the vast majority...
Okay, by the way, I want to preface this. This is Channel 4 News, and let's see, the reporter is in Tel Aviv, and of course, Mr. Marandi is in Tehran. So here's the conversation that they had here, and it starts off with the British interviewer. Here it is.
But Iran is not a military superpower either, and we're seeing the vast majority of drones and missiles being shot down by air defenses. I mean, surely Iran cannot win a military war and therefore has to go for some other kind of strategy in coming to a settlement.
Iran will defeat the United States. Time will tell. And our drones that are being fired are very old drones. Our missiles that are being fired are very old missiles.
Mm-hmm.
They're very inexpensive.
Yep.
And Americans are using up very expensive air defense systems. The Iranians know exactly what they're doing. We haven't even begun using our latest technology, and most of Iran's underground bases have not even been used yet. They have not even been opened up for operation. The Iranians have been planning for this day ever since the invasion of Iraq.
Okay, since the invasion of Iraq. All right, that was in 2003. But I would contend that they've been preparing for this a lot sooner, earlier than that.
I knew that at some point, the Epstein regime...
Oh, the Epstein regime. That's interesting. Yeah, there are some people who are calling this the Epstein War. And I would be inclined to agree.
Will go after Iranians. And therefore, they've been preparing themselves for many years. We are fighting for our homeland, and our sovereignty, and our independence.
What percentage of Iran's missile stocks remain?
The vast majority.
Because after last year's war, it was estimated that Iran had used up around 40% of its missiles. Are you saying that was replenished in the last few months?
Okay, I'm going to pause it because Mr. Marandi just smiled and just shook his head. No. In other words, you were lied to.
Those numbers were always fake. Those numbers are provided by the Israeli regime to the media in order to convince foolish Americans that war against Iran is simple. This war was supposed to end in a day or two. The 12-day war was supposed to bring Iran down like a house of cards. That failed, this failed, and now the United States will have to pay the price. And if the United States escalates that will mean that the most sensitive region in the world, the Persian Gulf, where a quarter of the world's energy comes from, everything could be destroyed. And if that happens, it doesn't even matter if the Strait of Hormuz is open or closed, because there will be no oil or gas, and there will be no tankers. For Iran, this is a fight for survival. For the United States, this is a war of choice.
Isn't the truth, though, that a lot of Iranian people want to see this government toppled? We saw tens of thousands taking to the streets just weeks ago, and many thousands of people were killed by the security forces. So public opinion is divided on this.
Don't believe your propaganda. That's silly.
Well,
I've already had an interview. I've already spoken with your colleague. Though the people who were killed, 3,117 people were killed. Hundreds were police officers and people who were patrolling the streets as volunteers, and hundreds of others were ordinary people that were murdered by these militants and these terrorists who were using weapons to kill. In your country, if they kill a single police officer, there will be outrage. Here they killed hundreds, including the volunteers. So this was no peaceful protest. And you know quite well, because I know you follow these things. In Iran, on February the 12th, we had millions of people on the streets of Tehran and tens of millions across the country rallying against the rioters. And on February the 11th, on the 47th anniversary of the revolution, we had millions of people again on the streets of Tehran and tens of millions across the country. And as we're speaking, across the country, as we're speaking now, you have millions of people in the streets of Tehran under bombardment, and in other cities under bombardment, commemorating the martyr Ayatollah Khamenei. So,
what about the competence, though, of your security apparatus? I mean, after the killing of the Ayatollah with so many senior figures, we have now seen that, again, the clerics have met in the Assembly of Experts building in Qom, and that has also been bombed. I mean, does it not strike you as very odd that senior Iranian figures are still meeting in known places where they can be targeted?
No, no one was in that building. Why do you believe this nonsense? And senior military figures, except for in the office of the leader, a number of people who were killed, no one else was killed. And
okay, I'm going to pause it there. So we were told that, with the strikes that we had in Tehran, we took out a whole bunch of their military officials. And he's saying, no, that didn't happen. Now, I don't know. I'm not going to bank on that. But the bottom line here is that either way, we're getting conflicting reports. And we already know that the domestic media here in the United States and the Israelis are very well known to be liars and propagandists. So I'm going to leave that particular interview at that and switch gears a little bit, because Gerald Celente was in a discussion with Judge Napolitano, and I tell you, Celente's been very good at his predictions. And as you just heard, there are many Iranians that are saying, hey, look, you can't win this war. You're just not going to win it. And Gerald Celente tends to agree.
This keeps going on. I'm warning that there's going to be a false flag attack, another 9/11 that's going to unite the people to support this war. It's going to happen in Europe. It's going to happen in America. And you're seeing all the stuff, the anti-Muslim, anti-Islamic stuff coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Get ready for the 9th crusade. That's what they're going to turn it into, and the people will buy it. Watch out for the false flag. That's my greatest concern. They did it before. They'll do it again. Little Georgie Bush was way down in the polls. The NASDAQ was down 80%, lost its value after the dot-com bust. 9/11 happened. 90% of the people swallowed the crap, spewing out of that little boy's mouth. We're going to get that guy Osama bin Laden dead or alive. Longest war in American history, the Afghan War.
Yeah. You're right about all of this, Gerald. I hope you're wrong about the false flags. But your predictions thus far, and I'm sorry to say, have been flawless.
Mm-hmm. And keep in mind, folks, it is no secret. The Israelis and the rabbis, they've all been very, very open about this. What they want is they want a holy war between the Christians and the Muslims. So I can see them having some sort of a false flag attack and saying, you see that? It's those radical Muslims. It was Iran that did it. So you're going to have to go to war and support this war in Iran and take out all the jihadists, et cetera, et cetera. And by the way, Iran has put out a call for jihad. Can't blame them, actually. But the bottom line here is if we have a false flag, if we have some sort of an event, and like you said, in either Europe or United States or both, the media will, of course they will blame the Muslims. Of course they will blame Iran. Of course they will blame jihad. But behind it will actually be another ethnic group. You figure it out. So, I mean, this, yeah, this is, it's so obvious to those of us who have been paying attention. And meanwhile, let me see, there was so much that is destruction in Tel Aviv. They don't want you talking about that. As a matter of fact, I had a news clip here. Let's see, where is it? Well, this isn't the news clip I was going to pull, but I'll play this one anyway. This is from Fox News. And, of course, we've been hearing on the news that we lost 4, count them, 4 of our military veterans, or military soldiers. And so, okay, they're talking, yeah, we lost 4 guys. We lost 4 guys. Yeah, 4. Maybe 2 more, maybe 6. However, Fox News just reported the following.
At a Fox News alert, an official source has confirmed that a suspected Iranian drone has hit a CIA station in Saudi Arabia's capital. Jennifer Griffin is live in Washington. Jennifer, what do we know?
Okay, I'm going to pause it. A suspected Iranian drone. Keep that in mind. A suspected Iranian drone. Maybe it wasn't Iranian.
Well, Jessica, we've confirmed with an official source that, in fact, it was an Iranian drone that struck the station, the CIA station in Riyadh. It was part of that U.S. Embassy compound, part of that drone strike last night that led to damage at the embassy. This is certainly a symbolic victory for the IRGC. Nobody was injured. Nobody was at the embassy at the time. The Washington Post was the first to report on the incident and that it was, in fact, the CIA station that was targeted and hit. But what this indicates is that drones, the Iranian drones, are going to be a big problem. They can take out the missile launchers and even the missile stockpiles, but they have thousands, if not tens of thousands of these drones, and anyone can put them in the back of a truck and fire them. These are really the new suicide bombs of the next phase in the Middle East, and they're going to be a problem for some time.
Okay, so she said it's been confirmed that they were Iranian, okay? But again, I don't trust them as far as I can throw a Greyhound bus. And it's like I was mentioning a minute ago before I played that clip, that it would serve the Israeli interest to generate a holy war between Christians and Muslims. And like I said, there have been rabbis that have been talking about that. Even Tucker Carlson was bringing this to the table.
Particularly candid and honestly kind of articulate clip from a couple of years ago. This is from August of 2024 from an Israeli rabbi, Joseph Misrach, describing how Israel should take advantage of a then ongoing conflict with Iran, much less intense than the current conflict we're seeing with Iran, to destroy the Dome of the Rock and Al-Aqsa. Watch this.
If it was up to me, the last time when they shot hundreds of missiles, I would pretend that one missile came from Iran and shoot it down.
Bingo.
You know, then all the Arabs will go against Iran and it will be the end of the problems. You make them fight with each other.
Bingo.
This bunch of lunatics. Never too late. You deal with a bunch of cowards.
Wow.
Shoot it down into the Dome of the Rock in Al-Aqsa. Destroy what's on what the Israelis call the Temple Mount on the foundation stone. Destroy it and blame the Iranians. And that has the effect, as you just heard him say, of turning our enemies against each other. Turning our enemies against each other. Although they've refused to recognize it for quite some time, the Europeans are the enemies, the mortal enemies of the Israelis. That's the Israeli perspective.
That's right.
Obviously. Look at the effects. And so if that were to happen in this conflict, it's not the Israelis who would bear the brunt of it. It's the Europeans, it's the Canadians, it's the Australians, and it's us and it's the Russians. 20% of Russia is Muslim. All of those countries would be in for serious turmoil and bloodshed, and maybe already this shortly into the war.
Interesting. Now, you regular listeners know that I have a bit of a history here, going back to the 9/11 issue. Remember, remember that? I made those two documentaries, 9/11 In Plain Sight and 9/11 Ripple Effect. And, of course, it was Osama bin Laden and the Taliban. Yeah, okay. Well, now we know, what was it, a year ago? Tim Burchett was in Congress, and he basically revealed that we've been sending, $40 million a week, I think it was? Or was it a month? I don't know. But it doesn't make any difference. We're sending tons of money to the Taliban. So the question is here, who was really behind the 9/11 attacks? Okay, it's not hard to figure out if you are willing to take a look at all the puzzle pieces. Now, in the meantime, in the halls of Congress, Congressman Seth Magaziner, basically he was in a classified briefing, and he had this to say about it.
I just left a classified briefing about the Iran war given by the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, the CIA director, and other administration officials. And while I can't reveal everything that was said in the briefing, here are my key takeaways. Number one, there is no intelligence that suggests that Iran was planning an attack against the United States. Number two, the administration does not have any plan for what is going to happen to Iran after the war is over. Iran is a country of 90 million people with an armed forces that number nearly 1 million. The biggest question I hear from Rhode Islanders is, why are we in yet another Middle Eastern war? And unfortunately, the Trump administration is still not giving members of Congress or the American people any answers.
I'll give you an answer. Why are we in a war? Because Bibi Netanyahu has everybody's jewels in a vice. That's why some people are calling this the Epstein War. All of this information is being held back. And I remind you, folks, you think about the Anthony Weiner laptop and you think about the Hunter Biden laptop. Don't think for a New York minute that the contents of those laptops weren't duplicated and distributed around the world. Of course they were. So there's lots and lots of data that can be used against our elected officials. You couple that with, what they call that blackmail, right? Well, you can also add in the bribery because, a lot of these officials have been paid off. So, anyway, carrying on. I tell you what, take a quick break. Here we go.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And you can get more tank by visiting our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page and and it'll take you down to a page where you can read all about the specifications and details about Get More Tank. This stuff works, folks, and you regular listeners are probably sick of hearing about it, but I'm going to keep on screaming about it because this stuff is good for your vehicle. Whether it be gas or diesel, you're going to find that once you've started using this, your engine runs cleaner, you've got more power, And the bonus is you start to get better mileage. Depending upon the make, model, year of your vehicle and your driving habits, you will see anywhere between 15 and 20% better mileage. That translates into money in your pocket. So, hey, I don't know what you're waiting for. If you haven't tried it, give it a shot. I promise you, you'll be smiling about it. So visit our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page and get more tank. All right. Meanwhile, in Congress, Tulsi Gabbard is she's standing up. Listen to this.
That's exactly what Trump did. He conducted and committed an act of war without congressional authority, seriously escalating the situation with Iran. And so now we're at a point of it's not a matter of, well, are we going to have a war with Iran? We are in a war with Iran right now. So the real issue is, are we going to allow this war to continue to escalate? And if so, for how long? And to achieve what objective?
Trump got into bed with God's chosen people, and now he's
that's Ryan Mata, and I cannot let him speak because he's got a foul mouth. But anyway, you just heard what Tulsi Gabbard had to say, and that Trump didn't have congressional approval. Well, here's the problem, folks. Because we don't learn from our history. Okay, this is right here. This is public law. You can look this up. Public Law 102-25, dated April 6th of 1991. Yeah, under George Herbert Walker Bush's administration. George Bush Sr. So what does it say in Public Law 102-25? Well, they use a very, very, shall we say, creative phrasing here to describe this particular law. But it says here in Section 3, definitions. All right, Section 3, subsection 3, and I quote, the term Persian Gulf conflict, unquote. Notice they didn't call it a war. They called it a conflict. That's kind of important. But again, we're talking about the Persian Gulf. That's what we're dealing with right now. Okay? Again, this is Public Law 102-25. Listen carefully, because they're saying that the president needed congressional approval. Well, according to this law, again, the term Persian Gulf conflict means the period beginning on August 2nd, 1990, and that's when Saddam invaded Kuwait, and ending thereafter on the date prescribed by presidential proclamation or by law, unquote. To this day, ladies and gentlemen, there has been no presidential proclamation or law to end the Persian Gulf conflict. So technically, we have been in conflict since 1991. And this is why they don't need congressional approval. We're already in a conflict. This is how they play us all for fools. And it's all about the money and the power, and all of that is being driven by one particular group that isn't even in this country. And I think you all know who I'm talking about. And meanwhile, Piers Morgan was in a discussion with Candace Owens on this particular topic, and here's the exchange that they had.
That America wants a regime change in Iran is because Bibi Netanyahu is demanding it. And we also are completely done with the idea that, with this decades-long idea that we're doing it to spread democracy because we believe in international liberalism. There was no imminent threat to the United States when Trump made this decision to do what Bibi wanted. And I want to be clear here. This was not Trump's decision. It was Bibi Netanyahu's decision. And that is the reason that he did it. And we're very aware that Israel is dictating our foreign policy, and we would now like that to stop.
Okay, but you wouldn't disagree, presumably, that Iran has been the main sponsor of terrorism in the Middle East through the Houthis, through Hezbollah, through Hamas. I mean, that's widely accepted and recognized. Things widely accepted. No, that's just kind of...
Really?
You don't think they have?
has been a terrorist state. Okay, Israel right now is imparting a genocide and a Holocaust on the Gazan people. So I'm really over this idea like somehow Israel has the moral high ground and we have to get behind them.
I didn't say that.
We got to go after the bad guys. So it's rich to me that people are concerned about Iran having nukes. But I'm concerned about Israel, who won't even admit that they have nukes, having nukes, while at the same time they are executing a genocide and a Holocaust in Gaza that the world is watching. So who's the bigger terrorist is the question.
But when the leader of Iran says death to America, why doesn't that concern you?
Why are they chanting death to America?
Yeah,
Maybe it has something to do with just like killing 1 million Iraqi civilians, because Bibi Netanyahu on a congressional stage and said there are weapons of mass destruction, and we took that to the bank, and there actually were no weapons of mass destruction, so we just killed 1 million. It could have something, I could be crazy, it could have something to do with our actions in the Middle East. We know that Bibi Netanyahu funded the al-Qaeda adjacent front because he wanted to overthrow Syria. Bibi Netanyahu funded Hamas. There's footage of Bibi Netanyahu saying this stuff on camera. So it's just so ridiculous to me to pretend that they're in some predicament, that they may be eradicated soon, which is why they have to keep funding all of these terrorist groups and then pretending that they're victims of terror, when in fact they are people that are imparting it worldwide. Okay, I'm
going to pause it for a second because I want to remind you. Now, she was just referring to the WMD claim that supposedly justified our going in and taking out Saddam Hussein back in 2003. But let me turn the clock back another 12 years and go back to 13 years. Okay? And that was the first Persian Gulf conflict. All right? Remember Naira, who testified before Congress that, the Iraqi guard had come into the hospital and they were bayoneting the babies in the incubators and that was a lie. That was a lie. Again, by means of deception, thou shalt make war. They lie. So we got into the first Persian Gulf conflict because of a lie. Okay, go ahead, Candace.
Again, these never-ending wars in the Middle East at the behest of Israel. Bibi Netanyahu was the one that called for Americans to invade Iraq, Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, and now Iran, and we've done it. And we're done with the BS of, they weren't really involved, Israel, in Afghanistan, because even when we fight those never-ending wars, Israel wins. Everybody knows that our boys were out there in Afghanistan guarding poppy fields, okay? And
I'm going to stop it right there. Remember Afghanistan, right after the September 11th attack? We were told that 11 of the 19 hijackers were Saudi Arabians. Oh, so when we went out, so what do? We went out there and bombed the snake's knot out of Afghanistan. Well, I want to remind you that to that point, the Taliban was eradicating the poppy fields. They didn't want any more of the heroin trade. They were trying to clean up that particular side of Afghanistan. So the Taliban was getting rid of the poppies, which would have been a major blow to the heroin drug trade that we all know that the CIA's up to their eyeballs in. So what happened? We went in there and bombed the snake's knot out of Afghanistan, put in a provisional government, and the following year they had the biggest poppy crop in history. Just thought I'd throw that in as an aside.
You know what happened after we allegedly, quote-unquote, lost in Afghanistan? What happened to all those poppy fields, those poppy flowers that our military was guarding? Well, the opioid crisis hit America via the Sackler family, who quite literally built the School of Medicine at Tel Aviv University. So we're just done, okay? And there's no way that we're going to go backwards. We're not going to allow you guys to emotionally condition us to go, we got to protect Israel because of the Holocaust. It is over. They're imparting a Holocaust. America would like off this crazy train.
Yeah, America wants off this crazy train. You're doggone right. Okay, we got a caller that's just called in, and so let's go to the call. We've only got a couple minutes here, so who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is your buddy Melissa in Maryland. We're not... The age difference is not such that we shouldn't be buddies.
Okay.
Got a $1 million question for you. Okay.
Okay.
I think that and you've probably mentioned this, okay, because you're one to mention this. It's just sparsely mentioned in the news and in the newspaper, but I think that you know that it's in the U.S. Constitution that one of the rules of Congress is that we declare war.
Right.
So I just wondered when and if that was going to happen.
Well, I just addressed that. But I was just quoting Public Law 102-25, which was signed by President Bush Sr., which said that they were going to have they're called the Persian Gulf conflict, was going to start in 1990, and it would end on the date thereafter prescribed by presidential proclamation or by law. And to this day, they never had a presidential proclamation or a law to end that conflict. So technically, we have been at war since 1990.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've been waiting a while for some of these wars to be declared. Has Vietnam been declared yet?
Yeah. It's a little bit late. Too late than... was it better late than never? I don't know. I don't know about that.
I don't have a problem doing it after the fact. I just want to know when it's going to happen.
Good question. I don't know, but anyway.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that's on your radar screen because, I will admit, if you don't declare war, then you don't lose a war. I admit that. Mm-hmm. But I just, wonder. Since it's in the Constitution, if Mr. Trump is trying to do things by the Constitution, then I do wonder, I guess my other question is, how long after a quote-unquote conflict starts? Do you have a month, a year into the situation? Is there some kind of time limit as to when war is supposed to be declared if it doesn't have to happen right away?
I have no idea. But we're at a point right now where the laws and the facts no longer matter. They do anything that they doggone want because most Americans, they don't even know how many stars are on the United States flag. People just don't know.
I will tell you we're not capped at 50 states, but okay.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for the call and the question, as always.
Keep up the good work. Okay, very good. Bye.
Thank you, dear. Bye-bye. Okay, getting back to the matters at hand, again, the mainstream media in this country, and I've been screaming about this for over 3 decades, that they lie and they manipulate, they massage, they gaslight, and they just propagandize. But you know what? Who's behind that? Who is it that makes those decisions? Well, guess what? CNN was in Tel Aviv, and they were having an interview. And listen carefully to what was said. Here it is.
Want to go up there. We're not showing you that because we're not going to show. The Israeli government does not allow us or want us to show where that may have come up, that interceptor. But I'm not.
Okay, right there. The Israeli government will not allow us to show this information about the missiles, the drones, etc., etc. They don't want you to see the damage in Tel Aviv. They don't want you to... Where do they get off telling the U.S. media what you can and cannot show? That's the point. Israel is in control of our media. And there could be no question about this at this point. So now we have to say, wait a second, when does it stop? When do we finally get control of our own country? And I would basically say to our elected officials, Congress, Senate, you've got to come clean. You've got to. Because eventually the chickens are going to come home to roost. And yes, all can be forgiven. Just start coming out. Yes, maybe they've got some video of you doing nasty things to little boys or girls. It's got to come out. It has to. It's just we can't allow this subterfuge and this evil to continue. And it's going to continue as long as our elected officials allow themselves to be manipulated and influenced by this foreign country. And that's where we're at, folks. It's sad, but that's where we're at. And until we get control of our country, we're not going to win this. There's no way we can. So anyway, let me see. I got one more clip here. No, I don't have enough time. Look at the time. It's almost gone. Oh, my gosh. It goes by so quickly. Oh, man. All right. Well, all I can say, folks, is that if you don't recognize that we are in a battle between good and evil, I don't know what I can tell you, folks. So, yes, it's time to get centered. It's time to reconnect with the divine. It's time to realize that, our stay on this planet is very brief. Okay? So it's time to start praying. Get back in touch with the divine, with the source. And any way that you can do that, I don't care what God that what you believe in, it's time to start reconnecting. So anyway, that said, I appreciate your listenership. If you're listening on BitChute or Rumble or YouTube or Facebook, whatever, please click like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends about it. That said, that's going to wrap it up for the Thursday edition of the WTF Reports. I'm Dave vonKleist, and God willing, I'll be back again tomorrow to wrap up this week. So until then, be safe, be free, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Anymore.